Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of the 45. My name is Jasmin Brand. I'm the host of the 45, but I'm also a Dallas-based entrepreneur and really passionate about bringing the community together. This morning, we're talking about carbs, not just carbs. We're talking about bread, which is literally one of my favorite things. When I was in fourth grade, I asked for a bread maker. Is that legit? Serious? Stephanie, you do not know this, that I have a huge bread a relationship with bread big time. So I was excited when we got to connect and that you were available to come on. So the goal of the 45 is just an informal weekly community chat. We bring on various people from the community, either local community here in Texas, or we've had people from around the country. And actually we've had a couple international too. So this is just about us getting together in this challenging time. I'd say unprecedented time, right? So it's not all challenges, but there's some positive stuff too. But us ending the week with purpose and self-care. And so this week we're going to be talking with a very cool founder. She's based in Dallas, Oak Cliff, I think specifically. Stephanie. Now, Stephanie, I don't want to butcher your last name. Can you tell us how to pronounce it?
It's Leichtle.
Leichtle. Oh my gosh.
A lot easier than it looks.
Wow, I would have never gotten that. Okay. Stephanie is the founder of, now is it Kuluntu Bakery, which means community. But I'm excited to get into your story. And let's get started because this is the 45, which means we have 45 minutes because we have shit to do, right? So Stephanie, please welcome to the 45. I don't know if you have any coffee or tea with you or water.
My husband's grabbing me coffee.
Okay, well, we'll do a little toast. We do a toast with every, yes. Here we go. We'll do a quick little toast. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So if you could just introduce yourself to everyone and tell us a little bit about your story.
So my name is Stephanie. And as Jasmin said, I'm the founder and owner of Kuluntu Bakery. We are a cottage bakery here in Oak Cliff. So cottage means that we do it all out of the house. So you're seeing both my house and bakery in the background. But what kind of led me to this point and where does Kuluntu come from and all that stuff. I'm from Dallas originally, from Coppell actually. And I went to A&M. And after graduating, I decided to move up to New York. And I was just baking for fun. Everyone has a side hustle up there. And so I was baking and I decided I had this vision for doing a nonprofit bakery. And so I thought, I really need to get some professional experience in order to do this well. So I got some baking jobs in some high-end bakeries in New York. And then my husband and I decided to move to Cape Town, South Africa. He's from South Africa. He's from Johannesburg. So we decided to give it a shot and see how we like South Africa together. And while we were there, I decided it was time to start this vision I had, which was this bakery. So I started Kuluntu Bakery there. Jasmin said it means community in a South African language called isiXhosa, which was commonly spoken in Cape Town. And so really the idea was about building community through baking and breaking bread. So not just like, oh, I'm going to go into a bakery and, grab whatever I want and leave, but it's really about building this kind of communal space and offering different events, but like inviting people into our home. We have a South African supper club that we don't host right now because of COVID, but in normal times we do, and workshops and stuff like that. So more like event focused, but also of course baking as well. So anyways, we were in Cape Town. We decided to move back to Dallas and I just brought the whole concept back with us. And I wanted to see I have no idea if this will be successful in Dallas. I haven't lived in Dallas for a very long time now. And so we just went for it and moved to Oak Cliff and it has been successful. So just still doing it, still growing every year. Our vision, as I mentioned, is to open a nonprofit bakery that's centered around women. So it'll have a women's training program and still be this communal space. And we're working towards that. So that's where we're at.
So you right now it's just the bakery, but you hope it to eventually become a nonprofit, kind of a hybrid business. So like a for-profit, nonprofit hybrid, or will it be kind of a social enterprise? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so it'll be technically a nonprofit, but funds from the bakery will fund all the programming.
Okay, gotcha. And tell us a little bit about the bread. You guys, the website is it just kuluntubakery.com?
Yes.
Okay, so the bread's beautiful. It looks, and I don't even know how to describe it because it seems like there's a full range of what you offer. Can you tell us a little bit about what you kind of offer in your shop, and then like what are your favorites to bake?
So our specialty is sourdough bread. So I'm making like these old world rustic kind of loaves. I'm trying to see if I have a little piece over here. Let me go. Just let me.
Oh, no, you didn't, Stephanie. Oh my gosh. Oh God, if you show bread this morning, I was trying to do banana and fruit. So luckily, Stephanie's sold out right now. Well, not everything. I think for her Thanksgiving.
Yes, it's not very exciting because I think my husband sliced into it this morning, but just a little piece of it. But it's different than like your sandwich bread that you would buy at the store. It's sour. It's like 100% sourdough, which means that it's all naturally leavened. We don't add yeast to it, and we're using whole grains, so it's a little bit darker inside. But I try to score everyone very beautifully. Like that's kind of my like artistic flair, I guess. So I do like leafy patterns and stuff like that. So that's our specialty, is the sourdough bread. And then I'm always trying to infuse South African ingredients and South African recipes and stuff like that into the mix. And so those come about more during the holidays. And as Jasmine said, I'm sold out for Thanksgiving, but I'm going to be offering a lot of stuff for Christmas.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into that too. I think it's interesting, this idea of using culture as part of the ingredients, if you will. For those of us, and including myself, are not familiar with like South African culture, like what is the flavor of that? Like what is the distinction between, South African culture as you're kind of integrating it with the bread and your ingredients? Like what makes it South African flavored?
South African cuisine is very complex because of the history of South Africa. With apartheid, I mean, it's just so segregated. And so the cuisine itself, I feel, is very segregated. Like my husband, Warren, grew up eating a certain type of cuisine and never had something that another group had. And it was very much like that, which we talk a lot about in our supper club. So when I'm offering something that's South African or has the flair, a lot of times I'm using more like some indigenous stuff. Like I like to use a lot of rooibos tea, which is indigenous to South Africa. And it's like their tea, they just drink this all the time. Or just stuff that's like a staple to a lot of South Africans, like something that's called mealie-pap, which is it's basically cornmeal. It's very finely ground cornmeal, and that's like a diet staple. It's like rice. So I'm infusing those into like the bread sometimes, and then like the holidays, I'm just doing very distinctive recipes that are like very widely eaten in South Africa by kind of all groups of people.
Okay, that's
so it's hard to answer that question.
No, you're right. I didn't even think about that when I asked it, that just the nature of South Africa itself is so complex, and it's still there's so many really cool cultural elements of South Africa, but it's still divided. We kind of forget about that being over here. I was doing a recent project with South African wines and kind of discovered that. Yeah, I know. So in South Africa,
more about that.
Oh, for sure. And it's interesting. I was even potentially going to put together like a wine trip or something to South Africa, but of course COVID happened. So I'll have to definitely connect with you, Stephanie, on that. Yeah.
Yeah, we live near the winelands, and so
oh yeah,
I love wine. So
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I did so much research on it, so I have lots of suggestions for you.
Yeah, you are right. It is still very divided racially there.
Yeah, which is so crazy, but it's not actually surprising given what's happening actually here in the States too. We're kind of dealing with so many different things that have kind of been under the radar, I guess. Can you talk about too? So being a new business owner, I would say, because I think you guys started the bakery in 2018.
Yes.
So that's pretty new. And then we've got COVID really, which has kind of impacted this year, right? You've got your 2008 to 2019 business year one, and then you've got 2019 to 20, and then you have this hot mess of a year, right? So it's like how can you even like what is your thoughts of this year? I mean, even having a hard time to describe it, right? You're in the food business, like what impact have you had? What impact has COVID had on your business?
Well, I have been one of the few lucky ones that my business has done really well. Um, and I think it's because we're one, a cottage bakery, so I haven't had to deal with people coming into my shop. You know, I have my pickups contactless, it's outside. Um, so yeah, I haven't had to deal with having like a brick and mortar. And also, it's just me and my husband. And so I haven't had to worry so much about like staff and, you know, all these things that I think are so complex right now and are really showing a lot of inequity in our country, you know, with labor. And so haven't had to deal with those issues so much. And on top of that, for some weird reason, sourdough's been like so popular this year. And so like it's been strange, but my business has been very busy this year because of all these factors. So I think I've been one of the few lucky ones in that regard. But I do also think that in Dallas, you know, obviously like we're not doing so well with COVID, and but people are out and about more, and so I think that at the beginning, a lot of food businesses, you know, they were like desperate and it was just a matter of days until they would close. And obviously, we have seen a lot of closures, but at least the restaurants that or the businesses I've talked to are doing well right now in Dallas.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. It really COVID has impacted us just personally. It's just like the way it's impacted us from a health perspective. Random people are fine with it and keep it moving, but then you've got some people who have been devastated by it from a health perspective. And business has been the same thing. I do know with people being quarantined, we're eating more and wanting to support local businesses too. I think there's been a push to definitely support local businesses. And then bread is always to me just represents home and family and life. So I think it's easy to gift. I think we were talking about this earlier. It's a really great gesture, kind of breaking bread with someone. I think also too that your bread obviously must be really delicious. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm ordering. The only thing I saw that was available on there was the focaccia, and I don't know if that's still available.
Oh,
Is it all gone?
no, it's in my freezer. I had a few leftover pieces yesterday.
I figured that. Yeah, I was like, and I'm such a procrastinator with ordering too. I was like, oh, I'll do it on Friday. I was like, that's gonna be so gone. So that's okay. I'll make my order after.
Yeah, first week of December.
Oh, perfect. Okay. But I also think it's your marketing and the fact that you're in the community. In fact, you know, I heard about you through Wings, which is a organization, nonprofit here based in Dallas that supports women, women with families and the education and career development of women. That's how I first heard about you. Talk a little bit about your involvement in the community. I know you used to do the supper clubs before COVID. What else are you doing in the community? And then tell us about your Instagram and your social media marketing, because I feel like that's also seems to be pretty helpful in getting people excited and building loyalty.
Yeah, so being a community, I guess, pillar, I don't know if pillar is the right word, but being embedded in the community is really important to us. And it's also been a good challenge because we're new to North Oak Cliff. So it's been a lot of, you know, getting to know our neighbors. And I think in COVID times, it's been so amazing to see, the same customers come back every week, and they're all people from the community. So I think that just, yeah, like you were saying, offering like this simple staple of bread in this time where it's like weird and like going to the grocery store is scary, but you also know you can get like a very good product from your neighbor and safely, I think is amazing. And it makes me feel that we're starting to embed ourselves more in the community. But it's definitely been a challenge, especially before COVID, our events, there were paid events. The workshops, I have to charge a certain rate. The supper clubs, well, actually, those are donation based, and we offer suggested donation. But by offering or saying, there's a price to this, then it also limits who can come. And so it's a tricky thing to want to be a thriving business and also like really serving everybody, which is why I'm going towards the nonprofit model.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, at the heart of it, it's about community, and we're really excited. Once COVID's over, we've moved into a house during this time, and so we can do a little bit more. And we want to have, once we get to making our backyard nice, we want to have people come into our backyard and like sit and eat their pastries or whatever they buy with us, just as like another way to try to open our doors. So that's on the community side. And we also partner with some nonprofits and other organizations like TFA and the Arboretum. Those are two of our big partners. And then I did the Wings program last year. So Wings is definitely near and dear to my heart. So on the social media marketing side, I have to say I hate all of that stuff so much. That's not my like gift. I do it because I know I have to do it, and it helps my business. The thing that is good is I have a little bit of a photography background, so that helps in taking some nice photos.
Okay, I was gonna say your photos are not, my photos don't look like your photos. So I figured there was
all about the light.
Okay, it's the lighting, got it.
Yeah, so I just try to have good photos, and sometimes like I do a post. Like the other day I did a post, and I really had some important announcements that I wanted people to see. Like I wasn't just saying it to like get it. I really want you to see these announcements I have. And like barely anybody saw the post, and I'm like, oh crap, like now what do I do? So for me, like it's a necessary part of the business, but it's not a part that I really enjoy.
I would say that's probably the case for everybody. Like there's some people who really love social media, but if you have to do it for work, it's just becomes yet another of the 50 million things you have to do. I always like to think of it though as like, because I'm an eternal optimist always, but of that it's this free platform, right? That we have at our disposal. And in today's world where it's so competitive and so challenging to have a free platform, really gives us so much creative freedom and power if we think of it that way. So that it's like, yes, I have to post today, but like what an amazing place we're at right now in time that we've got this channel that literally whatever you upload is what people will receive. Like there's really no restrictions. There's some restrictions, of course. And on Facebook, don't get me started on Facebook. Like that's a whole other situation. And Facebook bought Instagram, so they're kind of already getting there in the space. But it's still like it's really up to your creativity. And so I sometimes, being a marketer, I do it for several companies and brands. And so my own is horrible. I'm like that hairstylist whose hair is always the worst, because I always forget to do it for myself because I'm like, I'm doing it so much. But then I always shift the thought and say, you could spend a ton of money on old school display advertising in magazines, which still is available now, but you've got this kind of free platform that allows you to kind of be super creative. And I think that's Instagram, the beauty of Instagram is that people can discover you. That discovery is what keeps me excited about Instagram. Although I did have a friend recently tell me that she said that Instagram is starting to feel like a flea market, which I kind of agree with her in certain things, because it feels like it's like everybody's selling. So when I come across your account, yours is, we know that it's selling, but it's like, I think it's what I call native advertising, which is basically like, it's kind of like when my mom used to put vegetables in our spaghetti sauce, right? We know the veggies are there, but like you don't really think about it. You've already eaten all the spaghetti. You're like, hey, I just ate all these vegetables. Hey, you tricked us, kind of
That's a
situation.
great analogy.
Yeah, so it's like, what can you do creatively with your content to kind of do the same thing too? And I think your photos, I think, support the fact that if you're not really good with lighting and photography, like that's the piece to probably spend a little money. And so I think that's awesome that you've got that background. So like thinking about next for you, like how big do you want your business to be? Like, do you want this to be huge? Do you want to just have it where it's something that you always bake at your home kind of situation? Do you envision it going to like a commercial kitchen? Like, what would be the kind of the tipping point for you to say, okay, let's make this a huge thing? Or I kind of like this being a really cool local based business. Like, what are you envisioning?
So my vision is to keep it local. I want to stay in this area, so hopefully, like closer to Bishop Arts. Bishop Arts is changing like crazy, so I envision it being in one of the like little houses on the side streets. So I want it to feel like a home. I want it to feel small and intimate, and I think that's as big as I want to go with that, because I think when you get too big, sometimes you can, not always, but sometimes you can sacrifice that like authenticity of it, especially saying like I want to be a community centered organization, institution, what have you. So I also like living in New York. I love just those little restaurants that you go into. They're like kind of tucked away and you just feel like at home, you feel warm. So that's kind of my vision for it. I do love working in the house a lot. And my timeline, before COVID was okay, like in a few years, like maybe 2 years, okay, like let's do this. But I'm not sure if it may be pushed back maybe to like 5 years. I'm not sure. But I think since we do have this house now, we can still kind of do that hybrid sort of model for now, and just see where it goes. And I'm not somebody who's like looking for any sort of empire, and I'm all about balance. I try to be about balance. It's very hard right now, but I try to do that. And so I don't want it to be something more than I can handle, or like more than I can have a balanced lifestyle. But something that also we talk about is like how to connect this more to South Africa. So if there was to be any sort of expansion or something, it would probably be there.
Okay.
So, because that's where we originally wanted to do the program. And I think it would have been very, kind of a very like novel concept there and impactful. So who knows? That's like way off into the future, but it's just something we think about.
Well, I love that you said that about it being local, because it's kind of like right now during the quarantine that the expectation it felt like is that you should be writing a book, losing weight, finding zen, like rearranging your life, and that it wasn't okay just to not do anything, and just kind of be and exist. I think they call it hustle porn. I found this I was researching this for this project, and I was like, what is this term? And it's this whole idea of like this like fascination with always hustling and grinding and like trying to shoot for something. And for me, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, and I was on a track to build something really big. And when I got there, I was like, ooh, I actually don't want to have it this big. Like and I love working from home, Stephanie, but I'm also an introvert too. Like the quarantine has not impacted me that way, because I set my home life to be, my home and work life were so integrated anyway. So it's not like I have to leave. Whereas I don't also have children either. So this probably would change if I had kids, because I'd be like, get me out of here probably. But I love the idea that you're fine and comfortable with making it a really amazing local business. Like that's what we need, I think, from as women entrepreneurs. We need a diverse perspective of voices. That you've got those segment of us, of our community, that want to make a huge splash and make a massive company and work to get there, and the time and the energy needed to build a really big company, what that means and what you have to give up. But then I think also too, you can build just as amazing business making it local, being really integrated in a community, building great partnerships. Like I think that's a really important voice that more of us need to hear, that you can find success and happiness with whatever size company you have. Like just because she's doing that way doesn't mean that your business has to look that same anyway. Because I think, like you said, it's about finding balance. What balance is, I think we're also trying to find out. But I think making sure that you have a life outside of the business is important. And I love the fact that that's kind of what your goal is too. So
Yeah.
So 21. Oh, sorry. Did you have something to share?
Well, I was just going to share. I have a good, I guess, business role model in my dad. Actually, he's a small business owner, and his business is in the house too. He decided when we were really young that he wanted to do it in the house, so he would be home, when we got home from school, and my mom would go to work. So a little bit untraditional gender roles in that way. And he did have the opportunity to make it a bigger business, but he didn't want to because he had a young family, and he wanted to make sure that he was spending time with the family. And so that's something that I obviously has really appreciated that, and just value that. And so I think I'm kind of in a way taking after my dad in that way.
I love that. And I think that goes to the point, which is why I love having conversations like this, is that entrepreneurship and business and owning a business looks very different for everyone. And I think there was a time before there were so many women-owned businesses that we only had like one or two examples of what it looked like. So many of us didn't enter into starting our own business because we were like, oh, I don't have that skill set, or I can't do that. I don't know how to, and I love the fact that that's one of the benefits of Instagram. There's lots of things about Instagram I can't stand. My sister's like, you sound so old when you talk about Instagram. I was like, I don't care. I can't. And like with the reels too, don't get me started, Stephanie, on the reels.
Oh no, I'm never attempting that. I can't.
I tried one, but some of the reels I just can't, because some people already, like, the reels is not for everyone. I'll just keep it that way. We should probably have a separate conversation about those reels. But the beauty of what I love about Instagram is the fact that I have discovered so many amazing women-owned businesses around the country and the world that I would never have gotten to do. And I feel like that's our role as business owners, is to, of course, make our business successful so we can eat and keep the lights on and do stuff we want, but to find other companies to support. So what are some women-owned businesses or shops or anything that you're loving right now that you like? Are there any business that you've come across, and they could be in the food space or whatever, that we should know about?
Whoa, I do. I love supporting women-owned businesses, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna say?
Or do you follow any bakers? Any other bakers?
Yes, I have quite a few baker friends. One of my friends, she's up in Denton, Demeter's Kitchen. So if you're in like the northern part of DFW, definitely check her out. Wow, I'm like, I know a lot of women-owned businesses because that's my thing, and now I can't think of what.
It's still early too.
It's early. You know what I do like? I'm loving down in Bishop Arts. There's so many women-owned shops down there. I just saw one that opened up that I really want to check out, and it's about like self-care.
Oh, is it new?
Yes, it's called Go Easy. So I need to check it out, but it's like definitely breaking some taboos, I think, which is awesome.
Oh, I'll have to check it out. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot down in Bishop Arts that I like to meander around. I love Oasis. That's woman owned. That's probably my favorite shop there. It's a plant shop.
Oh, it's
And
called
so,
Oasis. Okay.
yes. And so it's in a little house and they just have it full of plants. And so before COVID, I would just go for a walk and I would get coffee and then I'd walk through the plant shop and like kind of get some zen then.
Yeah.
So that's probably my favorite shop.
I love that. You know, one of the things I was talking to another business owner about, and it's kind of why I'm really passionate about bringing women together is to this point. If you aren't on Instagram and you're just busy, because you know, as a solopreneur or as the you know the breadwinner of your family, you don't always have time to play on social media. Like literally, you get on there, do your post, and you're like, okay, I got to get back to work. But some of that play is discovery. And if you don't have time to surf on social channels, how would you actually find other business owners? Like it's something that I've been stressed out about because I always am trying to find businesses to support or to do something. I was like, this is too hard to do. So it's one of the things I'm excited about. And I feel like it'll be an ongoing project because there's so many amazing businesses in Texas, but just in general all around. What are some wins for you that you've had this year or just since you started? Like what were some big wins?
Well, recent big win is that we sold out for Thanksgiving. And the funny
Huge.
thing, yeah, the funny thing is I was like, I remember making a lot last year, not nearly as much as this year, but I remember making a lot. So let me just go back so I can figure out my timeline, what worked last year. I made like 6 pies last year and I thought it was so much more. And then I'm making 30 this year.
Okay.
So I was like, that's a lot of growth in 1 year.
Totally.
So definitely a big win is just how much we've grown in 1 year. Definitely a lot. And I think a consistent win is that we do get a lot of publicity. Like we get in D Magazine pretty often, and we've had some Dallas Morning News recently. And I don't know how that happens, but I welcome it and I'm grateful for it. And that has really helped. I mean, it helped really from the beginning. We were in D Magazine when we were still like in 28, or I think it was late 20, no, maybe it was 2019, beginning of 2019. So we were really young then. We hadn't even moved to North Oak Cliff. And that really helped get us a lot of business. So it's just steadily, you know, the more publicity that you get, I think the more it helps. So
those people are stalking you on Instagram, honestly. They're like, the thing is like the reporters, like everyone's all on social media right now. So they probably saw some of your amazing content, I bet.
Yeah, it was social media. And you're so right. Like social media is such a tool. And like that's where I discover things all the time, like so much learning, so many businesses. It's like, it's crazy how much is in that one app. So yeah, it's definitely a tool and a good thing sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. As with all things, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think growth is huge, right? I think that especially this year, and it doesn't sound like you have any specific marketing or strategies in place. Like it sounds like you've been really blessed to have people in the community support you too. So to have growth like that without any like marketing investment, I think is pretty huge. But I think that goes back to that point, right? Of just really investing in social media. And if you're not really super creative or you don't have awesome photography skills, that's the piece where to put some money in, because it seems like that's where you've been kind of blessed to build community and publicity.
Yeah. And then one more thing that I think that's been really key, I guess this would be kind of a strategy. I try to be really authentic on social media. And sometimes my posts are just like, pick up tonight. I don't put a lot of effort into some of them because I don't think every post should be super wordy, but sometimes I like to share a little bit more, like something maybe personal, or I mean, even sometimes political. I know they say like, don't do that, but and my parents were just telling me that I shouldn't do that. But it's part of my values,
Yeah.
And so I want people to know my values, and that's something that I try to reflect in my social media. And I think that's also helped a lot. So if you can be kind of vulnerable and just have an authentic voice, I think that resonates a lot.
I think that's so true too. Like we did one of these where we had a friend of mine, Waylon, who has a really successful PR firm, and the title of that one was "Don't Say Something Stupid." And we talked about as a brand or as company, like with this year with Black Lives Matter and all the social injustice and pandemic and COVID and election, like should you say something? Should you not say something? And the consensus he had was, you have to be in alignment with your brand, with your values and your goals, because eventually it will start to feel kind of disconnected if you aren't. And like there's like a way to do it so that it still feels, not professional. It still feels professional, not hateful or anything like that. But his belief was he would not take clients. He wants to align himself with people who are, have similar values. And my consensus was too, like, we don't have to have the exact same beliefs, but like things like empathy and compassion and equality, like those are like non-negotiables, right? So, and the companies and customers and partnerships that I would like and that I would like to promote would kind of like those same things, regardless of where we fall on the spectrum of politics or whatever. So I did see that you do incorporate that in there, but I think it seems to be done in a very minimal way. As opposed to believe this or don't eat our bread. I think yours seems to be a very kind of like, this is just what we believe in, which I think goes back to your point about being super authentic. So we have 5 minutes, Stephanie, and I want you to tell us about, oh, sorry, go ahead.
It goes fast.
I know, right? I told you.
So all day.
Thanks. I want to go over, because you talked about the holidays. You've got some gift things happening. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this because it's something we haven't yet done. We're offering a gift box, okay, but it's a South African themed like treat box. So it's included. So me and my husband came up with this together. Like he comes up with a lot of like the content, and he's my recipe tester. And
oh, how lucky!
Yeah, as well as some other South African friends. We like brought over some stuff to our neighbor yesterday to test it out for us. But it has 3 different treats in it, and they're all like South African and unique flavors to them. But it's 2, like one's a cookie, one's kind of like a biscotti. It's called a rusk. And then the other one is a fudge, but it has some flavors that are South African. So those are the treats. And then we're going to put a jar of the rooibos tea. I mentioned that earlier. And then we'll put a jar of chutney. It's a very popular condiment. They call it Mrs. Ball's chutney. So we'll put a jar in there, and then it's going to be packaged really nicely and tied with like a big ribbon, and also a dried protea flower. So a protea it's native to South Africa as well, and it's like their national flower. They take a lot of pride in this flower, and so we were able to get these beautiful like dried preserved proteas. So that will be packaged there as well. So
that sounds amazing. It sounds really unique and special. And I think in this year of trying to always support local too, I think it sounds like a really cool idea. Those will be available starting when?
So that's going to be the first week of December. So right after Thanksgiving. And normally we do a twice a week pickup for our bread. We offer bread every week and a different pastry. So in December, we're only going to do a Thursday pickup because balance. Only Thursday, and you can order that box every Thursday throughout December. Well, I guess it's the first 3 Thursdays in December.
Yes, because the 18th within the following one would be the 25th. So you've got 3 weeks to get it. So you would just come to your shop you'd have to go to your shop to get it?
Yeah, so it's going to be on that like weekly menu, but then also just like Thanksgiving, how we're doing this big Thanksgiving menu. We're also going to do a Christmas menu on the 23rd of December. So it'll have actually some cool South African desserts if you're looking for dessert for your Christmas Eve dinner, Christmas dinner. But those boxes will be on that menu too. So there's 4 different opportunities to get the boxes.
I love that. Well, we'll definitely, of course, help to get the word out about that. We do have some people that tune in that are not local. So for those people, do you have any plans next year to even ship, or maybe this gift idea, maybe it go outside of DFW? Or is that too soon to even think about that?
Well, I'm technically not allowed to ship things. It's part of the restrictions as a cottage food business.
Okay.
So yeah, if there's another way around it, or if you have somebody that lives local that can pick it up and then ship it.
Okay, I'll be brainstorming that idea, because I have a feeling that the beauty of social media is that you've got people from all over, and eventually the demand will be, hey, we want that here. So I think if it's not here now, this will probably start to come your way, I think, next year too. So it's a good problem to have, right? If you start to build interest outside of.
Yeah, and we plan to offer this every holiday season now.
I think it could be cool on other holidays too. I think Valentine's Day would be nice to get something like for us single girls, Galentine's. I think it sounds like a really cute idea for Galentine's too.
Yeah. I was speaking of South African wines. I was like, I want to add a bottle of South African wine. And then Warren's like, I think you need a license for that. I was like, oh, shoot. I tried you. I don't think I can do that.
Would need a license, but I have somebody to connect you with that could possibly help you with that.
Okay.
Yes, he's actually my South African wine connect. So I'll merge you guys together.
We need to talk.
Well, that's our time. As always, it flies by so quickly. Stephanie, if you could share your website, social channels, how everyone can connect with you.
Yeah, so I'm on, as you know, social media, and my website, it's Kuluntu Bakery. So you spell that Kuluntu Bakery. So I'm the only Kuluntu Bakery out there, so you should find me.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so super inspired by your story and excited to try this bread. It's fine. I can wait. I'll wait. I'm patient, Stephanie. I will wait a week.
1st of December. We'll be ready for you.
Okay, perfect. But thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us this week for the 45. We're here every Friday at 8:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. We've got 3 more shows, if you will, for the rest of the year too. So this year has flown by, but we've got some really cool stories and guests for the remainder of the year. Next week, we'll be talking about gratitude and giving, how gratitude leads to complete happiness. We've got Tiffany Lindley, who was on with us before. She's an amazing counselor and therapist, and she's got this incredible talk about the connections between gratitude and happiness. So that should be a really cool 45 too. But have a great, amazing day today. And I guess if I don't see you or talk to you guys, have an amazing Thanksgiving too. See you later.
Thank you so much, Jasmine.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.